What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Tyler, and we are back for part 3 of our Pirates of the Caribbean and Star Wars Community Series crossover event. In the first video, we talked about the movies themselves, which movie franchise is actually better than the other. In the second part, we talked about Rey and Finn and Karina and Henry, which of the new trilogy characters are actually better. And to end our crossover event, we're going to be talking about the concepts of the films themselves. What do the concepts actually do for the films? Why do people actually go see Star Wars and see Pirates of the Caribbean? So we'll be talking a bit about that. Our Pirates of the Caribbean, the community series airs every other Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Our Star Wars community series had ended. We will be bringing it back once Star Wars Episode 9, gets into full swing. We'll be covering Episode 9 throughout, all aspects of it. So when they're filming for rumors, we'll have stuff. But the community series is technically over. So Tyler, what do you think? Why do people go see these films, and is the concepts of them actually better? In one, I think Star Wars, I think we'd probably agree, the concepts better than the actual film itself?
Yeah, actually, I think especially, and people are going to say, man, you guys really hate Star Wars and you are very pro Pirates of the Caribbean. It's actually not true. But what Alex just said, see, for me, Star Wars, the concept of Star Wars is one of the greatest things, not just cinematically, but just in general. Like, that's one of the greatest concepts, in my opinion, of all time. Not just space. Space is nothing. So I think space is rather boring. But and even almost Star Trek is kind of boring to me. But like Star Wars, there's something about Star Wars. It's almost not even the good and evil. It's kind of, the Jedi, the lightsabers, like those are always cool. The lightsaber battles, the stormtroopers, like that kind of stuff. There's, the space pirates and all the different kind of aliens there are. And there's something like fun about it and like thrilling, and there's something about it that you really like, you want to be part of it. And again, like if you like Star Trek, that's fine. I've watched all the Star Trek movies. I've never, not just the new ones. Like, I've never really felt connected to it. I just feel like it's kind of, it's interesting because I feel like Star Trek is actually, this is going to sound weird, more realistic than Star Wars. Even though they're very similar, I think Star Trek is more realistic than Star Wars. Where Star Wars to me is a universe that I like. If somebody came down from the heavens and said, we will literally be able to hook you up into a system, put you in any universe that you want, any movie universe, and your mind's going to create that reality and it's going to be real to you or whatever, and you're like anything, I would either choose Star Wars or like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Those are my two. Maybe Kingdom Hearts, maybe if I thought about it a little bit more, like Tron or something, I would. But Star Wars would be right up at the top of my selection. Not so much actually not at all Pirates of the Caribbean. So the concept, it's interesting because like Pirates of the Caribbean on paper sounds almost horrible. Because it's like, we have this drunk pirate who never knows what he's doing. Things end up turning out okay, but it's just pirate battles sometimes. Some character, on paper, again, like character development doesn't look as good as actually like seeing it and feeling it. So on paper, like sword fights and all that stuff, Davy Jones on paper would sound cool, but actually seeing him is different. So definitely I'd have to give Star Wars 100%, like concept way, way, way better than the concept of Pirates of the Caribbean. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, the concept of just doing whatever you want in space and having that kind of sci-fi feel. That's basically what this is, a sci-fi film in space. And it really, pioneered a whole kind of generation like that. And you're right. There's a lot of unique things to Star Wars, right? Like you said, the Jedi, the Sith, the lightsabers are iconic. Kind of like the evil guys having like the big, just like the mask with like the First Order or the Stormtroopers or even the clones. So I think just what they can do with the franchise, which we're going to lead into as well, what they could do with the franchise, I think is really, really good. I think they have plenty of room to play around with. I think it's a really fleshed out world, because it's not even a world, right? It's a galaxy, and it's whatever you want, because it's a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago. So you could literally do whatever you want. I think the problem, we'll get into it, I'll talk about Pirates so fast, but I think the problem you get with Star Wars is they boggle themselves down and kind of limit every single movie of what they can actually do, and that's what makes, I think, really disappointing. With Pirates, like you said, I mean, it doesn't really have a lot to it. I think a lot of the more, I think what makes Pirates special, just like you said, is kind of seeing it, like actually seeing it come together, watching Johnny Depp perform as Jack Sparrow. If you just heard about Jack Sparrow, and you heard about his character, you would probably have a different idea of what it's like than if you saw it. And again, like Pirates, just in general, Pirates isn't that interesting. It's just, people sailing at seas. People do, kids tend to do want to be pirates and stuff, but I think they want to be a lot of other things more. They see Darth Vader first and all that stuff. But Pirates is an interesting concept, but it's not very interesting at all. It's obviously the supernatural aspects and what they actually put into the films, the characters, the relationships, the epic moments, the music. That's what makes Pirates special. So Tyler, like I was saying earlier with Star Wars, how do you think that it actually translates to when you see the film? Because like I said, I think that they kind of limit themselves in what they actually show.
No, yeah, I agree. Concept-wise, fantastic. What we always end up getting on film, well, no, I shouldn't say always, but what we get on film isn't, sometimes it's kind of like, well, maybe you're expecting too much, but am I really? Because like when we watched the Knights of the Old Republic, I mean, when we, E3 would come out, or not come out, E3 would happen, right? And we would always get these amazing CG trailers. Like this was like years ago, where it was like the 10 on 10 or whatever it was. And they were these amazing lightsaber duels. The Force was used so cool. I mean, and it was amazing. It's like, I want that in a movie. And you're right. Why can't we have that? Why can't we have that? You don't have a big enough budget? Disney you have $1 billion, you know what I mean? So it's like, you guys have billions of dollars behind you. You're definitely, if not the greatest or the biggest franchise, you're close to the biggest, but I'm pretty positive Star Wars is the biggest franchise, money-wise, that there is on the planet, at least our planet. So it's like, why can't we have massive lightsaber duels? Why can't we have not only massive lightsaber duels, but lightsaber duels plus Force, using the Force back in ways that we've never seen? Why can I only see that from the now no longer canon Knights of the Old Republic? I guess that's part of the expanded universe, and it's not canon anymore because Disney says so. Why do I have to watch those trailers to see what Star Wars could be? Why can't that be what Star Wars is? Alex is right. They limit themselves. They could do so many cool things, and they just don't. I don't understand why they just can't do it. It's not even fan service. It's, you literally are just taking the material that you laid out and being like, okay, we're going to go all out every time. Why wouldn't we? And just for example, quickly, when Kylo Ren and Rey are fighting side by side in The Last Jedi, why didn't they use the Force? Ever? I was like, what? They didn't use the Force at all? Why not? And it's well, maybe that would have been too easy for, to defeat Snoke's elite guards. I mean, not really, because you just had them both getting choked at the same time. So I don't know. It's just kind of why couldn't you? So if you guys listened to my episode 9 theories, I was saying, or I was hoping rather, that we would get where Rey's going to get this group of younger people, or not necessarily young, but a group of people. She was going to train them. There was going to be a little time skip. Kylo Ren might either get the Knights of Ren, give them lightsabers because you don't need the Force to have lightsabers. Maybe he's also fighting other people, and he's going to kind of make them whatever his version of the dark side is. And then why can't in 9 we have a 6-on-6 battle? Can we finally have that, please? It's the finale of this big Skywalker trilogy. Why can't we have that? I don't even care if you partially replicated Knights of the Old Republic. That was an awesome trailer. I'll occasionally go and watch. I mean, it's just, I don't understand why the concept cannot become, why they can't translate the amazing concept that they have to actually doing it and just having it in the film. Attack of the Clones had, yes, a bunch of Jedi with lightsabers blocking bullets. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a bunch of good guys with sabers versus a bunch of bad guys with sabers. And you totally can, do what I just said or do other ways. You could do, hopefully like in some of the newer movies, some of the spin-off movies, they kind of go back in time and do that kind of stuff. But I almost feel like they're not going to do that. Well, why can't I do that? Why can't I see that? So that's one thing I don't understand. Now for pirates, they tend to actually do a lot better with the films and like showing us really cool stuff like Davy Jones, all of his crew. Like that was really, really awesome. We've never really seen anything like that. You can compare it, I guess, to like Alien style, where they I don't know. I don't know what you can compare it to because it's just very different. Like the fish faces and like how they're human and different stuff. It's very different. And we've never really seen that before. Salazar wasn't all that different. Kind of was, but not really. But like in Curse of the Black Pearl, when they walk into the moonlight, that was really different. We've never really had that in the movies. That's comparable to like somebody turning into like a werewolf. When in the moonlight they turn into a werewolf, this and that. So it's similar, but we've never actually seen like where a regular person's hand is reaching for something, then the moonlight's coming through a window, and then as it passes through, it turns into a skeleton hand. Like, we've never seen that. That was really cool. And they used it in a cool way where, Jack gets stabbed, and we're like, oh, crap. And then you realize, like, oh, he stole a coin. So, like, to the concept, they translate the concept, what they, pirate battles, this and that, they translate it really well. The Kraken, they bring in mythology that works, and they adjust it so that it like works well to fit the supernatural elements that they've established in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And at World's End, the big whirlpool, like the Maelstrom scene where they're like fighting in that whirlpool, like that was really amazing. On paper, that would be like, yeah, that sounds cool, but they actually like did it. Now, here's one thing that they didn't do well. In that same event, it was like 100 pirates versus like 100 or 1,000 whatever British ships, and it's like they just retreat. Like we didn't even see any of the other pirate lords do anything. All we saw was the Black Pearl versus the Flying Dutchman. So in my opinion, that was a little weak. That it's like, well, why couldn't they all like go around and like do other fights? That would have been cool. So that's an example of, they pulled their punch there. Maybe it was a budget thing. I don't know why. But that would have been a lot cooler. But what we got, like with the Maelstrom and all that stuff, that was really awesome. Now for Star Wars, in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, that was like, I don't know, it was maybe like a 7-minute fight or something like that. That's an amazing fight. Like, and we're moving like through different areas of this planet, not really planet, but like this area that we're on in Mustafar, and like it's a really cool fight, and that's one of the best things, in my opinion, that we've seen in Star Wars. That's the closest thing to a really, really good lightsaber battle that we've ever had. But unfortunately, out of 9 movies, 8 with lightsabers, I mean, really, that's kind of like almost pathetic that we've had one extremely good lightsaber battle out of 8 movies. That's pretty bad to me.
Yeah, so I agree. I think that, Star Wars, like I said, I think they limit themselves with... Now, they try and tell an interesting tale, but when you go back to the general concept of Star Wars, it is good versus evil. It's about as plain as they come. It's the good guys versus the bad guys. Blue, light, and then red, dark, and then Luke versus Darth Vader and all that stuff. So, and it's very, it goes towards teenagers, and you could argue Pirates of the Caribbean does the same thing. But, Star Wars, I think, limits themselves to the Skywalker Skywalker storyline. And like Tyler said, they don't really explore the Force all that well. They don't really explore their own mythology. Now, yes, the mythology was created by all these comics and by all these games and by all this stuff that they had to introduce later on. I mean, when the 4, 5, and 6 originally came out, that's really all we had to work with. That's what we knew Star Wars to be. And then it definitely started to fill in the gap before we got to episode 1, 2, and 3. But I just feel like they limit themselves with what they could be doing. Like Tyler said, they could be doing a lot more with lightsabers. They could be doing a lot more with the Force. They could be exploring multiple worlds and multiple different races of just beings, and they don't explore the history of where they all come from. And episode 1, 2, and 3 was about the peak of the Jedi Order, so that was cool. What was it like when they were fully in their prime? What was it like when they were fully in charge? And we can see they're really good lightsaberists. They fight really fast. They have a different kind of style. But yet again, we only really see, like Tyler said, one fight, Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is an amazing fight. Definitely one of the best moments in a Star Wars film to date. But that's a little disappointing that they haven't really fleshed out anything, especially in these new ones. I mean, even they've started to do a couple new things, like Kylo Ren's Force ability of literally freezing people. We had never seen that before. If you notice, that's not even in 8. He didn't do that at all. It was over. So they stopped doing that. I feel like they just let opportunities pass them, or they just don't want to introduce things, and they kind of stick by their own script, which definitely limits their ability to tell at least a far-reaching kind of story, or a lot of interesting things that they could be doing. Whereas Pirates, like Tyler said, I definitely like Pirates. I like what they have done. It's kind of funny, right? Because they established their world without even trying, because Pirates 1, yes, did have the supernatural aspect, but it wasn't in it that much. We knew that it existed. We knew this wasn't a pirate's world of just drunks on a ship. We knew it wasn't that, right? There's Aztec gold, and it's a pirate curse that does exist. They literally get cursed. They literally become skeletons. So we know there's a supernatural aspect. But in 2, as Tyler and I have talked about actually in other videos, they took a huge risk, and they took a huge jump and said, okay, here we go, like Davy Jones, here's the devil of the sea, here's the Kraken, let's really bring in this mythology. Davy Jones was in mythology of the sea. He's a real person, all that stuff, and we've shown pictures of what he actually looks like, and obviously they changed his style up a little bit, but they took a lot of liberties. And they did it, I think, very, very well. And like I said, they took a risk, because Pirates 2 is so much different than Pirates 1. But Pirates 2 is really the kickoff of this supernatural Pirates universe. Even Salazar, which kind of resembles Barbossa in Pirates 1, it still has the feel of this supernatural universe that Pirates 2 created. The only one that actually feels a little bit off is on Stranger Tides, which doesn't really go into the supernatural aspects that much. Kind of just feels like a side story. And in that way, it's the reverse of Star Wars, where Rogue One kind of goes into different things, and it goes into, characters that aren't Jedi, but they're close to being Jedi, and you introduce kind of these new factions. So Pirates did it a little bit differently, and Pirates definitely, like I said, they took a risk, but it definitely worked. They just kind of put in supernatural aspects into their film, and it started to work. And we got Davy Jones, and we got Salazar, and we got the Kraken, and we got just this cast of characters that work really, really well. But beyond that, they're just really good characters, and they really work. There's nothing that special about Barbossa, as a person. He's just a person after he was kind of uncursed of the Aztec gold. But his relationship with basically any character is really, really good. So I think Pirates has definitely nailed what they've been trying to do, because maybe they have a smaller area of what they can work in, because they kind of have made up their own rules, where Star Wars is very expansive, very big, and you can't possibly cover it all, and Tyler and I don't really expect them to cover it all, but I just think they haven't really explored nearly as much as they could have in the amount of time. I mean, the Clone Wars, the TV show, did a good job, and Rebels has done a good job, but the movies have not.
Before we end the video, we should probably just briefly talk about one of the main things of Pirates of the Caribbean that we think is kind of one of the major, it's a double-sided sword, major draws and major drawbacks of Pirates of the Caribbean. And that is actually Jack Sparrow himself. Now, I personally love Jack Sparrow. I really do. Not as much as Alex. He has a Jack Sparrow doll that he sleeps with. He never told anybody, so now I just did for him. But and it's life size too. Jack Sparrow. Some people like he gets on their nerves. I don't know how or why. They must really get like annoyed with a lot of people because I don't know. He's not like super goofy. I don't think. In 5, I didn't like his character in 5. In my opinion, Pirates 5, Dead Man Tell No Tales, one of the drawbacks of that movie was Jack Sparrow. But Alex and I, we had a video. We were kind of concerned about him. We ended up right. Not the only time. But, it depends on how he's used. There's different variants of Jack Sparrow. There's regular Jack Sparrow. There's Serious Jack. And then there's apparently extremely drunk Jack. I do like Serious Jack. We've seen him a couple times. I also do like the regular Jack Sparrow where he's kind of just winging it. Works out. He's like, yeah, I don't even know how I'm going to do this, but he does it, and he's like, that's funny. Like, it's fun. It's funny. He's a cool character. Is he a relatable character? Not so much. In my opinion, is any Star Wars character in Star Wars a relatable character? No, I almost want to say not really. Somewhat, but not like super relatable. Where I feel like I can relate in a way. This is going to sound weird to like Barbossa. Like I not relate, but like understand him. I can understand Will. I sort of can understand Jack, but almost not really. He's kind of a tough character to like relate to or understand because we don't know too much about him, honestly. Especially like in the films, we don't know all that much about him. We know like some of his core beliefs, core values, but we don't really understand him too much. Now for like Star Wars, we thought we understood Rey. Not really though. Finn, I kind of get, but at the same time, the way that they use him, I don't. It's like, where are we going here? Like, what are we doing with this guy? Poe, useless to me. I don't understand him at all. I would argue that the most relatable people in Star Wars or characters that you can understand are Obi-Wan, not at all Anakin Skywalker, not at all. I could have if they would have handled it differently, but Obi-Wan, maybe Luke a little bit, not so much the new older Luke, called Jake Skywalker by Mark Hamill himself. I can't get behind that one, not too much. But like I guess some parts of Luke I can get a little bit, but almost not really. So, I guess when we look at characters for pirates in Star Wars, there is, between the two movies, I have a hard time relating to some of the characters, or almost all of the characters in Star Wars, where in Pirates, there's a handful that I can kind of relate to. And I don't know if it's because it's a more grounded movie, even though it really isn't. They're almost equal in a way. Supernatural-wise or sci-fi-wise, they're almost equal. So almost in that way, they're kind of the same-ish, where, I don't know, I just have a hard time. Pirates is fun to watch. Star Wars used to be fun to watch. Now it's just starting to piss me off. But character-wise, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like maybe we're not supposed to try to relate so much to them. Maybe we're just kind of supposed to go along for the ride. I'm not too sure on that. But Pirates, especially Jack Sparrow, he's a character I personally really enjoy watching. He's fun. He's funny. It's definitely a character. He's one of my top favorite characters, I should say, out of movies in general. But there are a lot of people who just don't like Jack Sparrow at all. They think he's an idiot. They don't like it. And that is one of the reasons why there's almost, in a way, like a cult following of Pirates of the Caribbean, where either you like the movies or you kind of don't. And maybe we should quickly talk about that, because that is a strange thing where Star Wars seems to grow every time just because it's kind of like, well, it's Star Wars and I should join the group because I don't want to be left out, because that's kind of how society is now. Where it's like, well, I don't want to be left out. I have to go see it too, even though I have no idea or I don't care, but I got to be part of it. Where Pirates isn't really that. Pirates is really like there's a core group of people. I mean, clearly, like with our community series, there's a core group of people who enjoy Pirates of the Caribbean. They will for the most part, they will almost always go see the movies. And that's just how it is for Pirates, where there's not really too many new people going to see the movies. That's just how I see it. And I don't know if that's just because of Jack Sparrow. It's tough because I don't see why people don't enjoy, like regular people. I don't see what there's not to enjoy kind of Pirates of the Caribbean. Jack Sparrow, he's entertaining. There's a lot of these cool, I don't know what to call them, like stage type of events. In Dead Man's Chest, the whole, like when they're all in that big wicker, or like that big bone, that ball that's made out of bones, like all that kind of stuff. When Jack has the thing on his back and he's running, like all that kind of stuff, all those type of like scenarios or whatever they're called, when they're all fighting on that big wheel. Like not many films, actually very few films have anything like that. And then with the supernatural elements, which in 4 were horrible, 5 they were pretty cool, but at least in 2 and 3 they were really, really good. I don't know what it is for the people who don't enjoy the films. I'm not too certain what it is. Where for Star Wars, again, it's kind of like, well, everybody knows Star Wars, so I better just go see it because, you know, when people are talking about it, I don't want to feel stupid and not know like what they're talking about. I honestly truly feel that's where the Star Wars success comes from. It's society. It's really society driven, where it's like, well, I don't want to miss out. Everybody knows about it. It's because it was already so big in the past. And the thing with Star Wars, here's the other element of Star Wars, where it's almost about like, well, it's my childhood. And I'm kind of like that because, like, for me, was I alive for 4, 5, and 6? No. My father went to go see 4, when it first came out in theaters. But I went to go see Star Wars 1 when it first came out. And now obviously there's a whole new generation. So it's kind of like, well, that's my childhood, so I want to stick with it. Now there's a lot of people leaving because of 8. But so there's kind of like this whole, it's almost like a memory. It's like something that like we like latch onto and we just can't kind of let go of in a way. So because of that, it becomes this thing where it's like, well, I don't want to miss out just because I never watched it when I was young. Well, now I should probably start because it's such a big thing. And then the year or like a couple months after it comes out, it kind of dies out. And then when it comes back, Star Wars is here. Oh, okay, I better go catch up. So Star Wars, I think, almost got lucky because of the concept years ago, where Pirates isn't so lucky, but I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I pretty much agree. I think that what you got with Star Wars is a film that connects to all these generations have seen Star Wars as a kid. So like your parents, me, and soon to our kids too would eventually see it. So there is like a lineage thing. It's like, oh, I saw Star Wars when I was young. I think what's tough about Star Wars is I was thinking about it as you were talking. I feel like it's maybe easy enough to follow where you never really need to fully grasp so, okay, here's the thing. When we talked about Pirates of the Caribbean when it first came out, we could definitely have been, like, you could definitely call us out on, like, maybe over-analyzing a film. I think you and I have talked more about Pirates than any group of people have talked about any film franchise. And what's actually really cool about Pirates is it's got enough to actually have conversations like this. Now, Star Wars does too, in a way. But I feel like you have to make them up more with Star Wars than you do Pirates, if you know what I mean. Like, Star Wars, you don't really need to know what's going on. Like, my parents saw Episode 8 in theaters. They didn't remember at all 7. They didn't remember what happened in 7. They forgot about The Force Awakens, and they just saw 8. So there's $20 to Star Wars from people that just didn't even know just because it's a new Star Wars movie that came out. I think it's that case with everything. I think with Pirates, and like you said, I think it's a core group of fans. I think Pirates builds on each other, even 4. it builds on each other more and more every time, where you need to follow it all the way through. And I think the people that have watched 5 definitely were the same people that watched 1, 2, 3, 4. I would think there's very few people that saw 5 as its first movie, which is a little bit worrisome and a little bit annoying, because I personally think 5 is the perfect family film. Of any of those 5 Pirates movies, I think 5 is the one that's the most enjoyable. You don't need to know anything. You can just kind of go in, have fun with it. Jack is a little annoying, yeah, but he's not. He's annoying to us because we care about him so much. If you're just going in cold, I don't think you find him. You know, we saw that in our comments. People didn't find him annoying. I think that's fair. So I think with Pirates, but it's weird. See, Pirates 5, like I think it's a family movie, but I feel like it's not. I feel like that's the core. And I've said that I think Pirates 5 is the lowest amount of money they'll ever make, because it's the lowest amount of people that'll ever go, because that's your base audience. So in a way, I'm insulting Star Wars because I'm saying it's kind of hollow. You don't really need to know what's happening. You can forget about the prequels entirely.
The thing about Star Wars, and I'll let Alex keep going, but the thing, because he's right, the thing about Star Wars, and it could be the reason, you might be right, where it's so easy to follow, because it's good versus evil. It's the good guys and their group versus the bad guys and their group. Now, but here's the question though, Alex, when does that get old? That, you know what I mean? Like where Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously it's like, well, the good guys and the bad guys. Yeah, but not really, because Barbossa was a bad guy and then he became a good guy. But he was like an anti-hero. And it's like, so it's kind of like, and the problems that always happen, it's not so much that it's like bad guy, like in Pirates 1. Were they bad guys? Not really. They just wanted to lift the curse because they were super hungry, they were super thirsty, they were cold.
And they painted Jack as the bad guy throughout the whole film, too.
True, and Jack, because he was a pirate and this and that, Jack was portrayed as kind of like by all the other outside characters, kind of. He was portrayed as like a bad guy, and we kind of moved away from that a little bit not even a little bit, a lot of it as the movies have gone on, and I think that was necessary. But like the bad guys in 1, I don't even see them as bad guys, and that's what I'm saying about relatable characters. I get it. You're hungry. You're thirsty. You feel cold all the time. They've been like that for so many years. They want to get rid of that. They want to lift the curse. They want to feel again. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see you as a bad guy. Davy Jones. He was betrayed by the person he loved most. He took a job, basically was told, in 10 years, you do everything you're supposed to do. In 10 years, you'll have one day and I'm all yours. And that's all he wanted. All he wanted was her. All he wanted was the sea. All he wanted was Calypso. 10 years go by, she doesn't show up. And that pain, he carved out his own heart. He went against his job. He didn't do his job. He corrupted his purpose. And all these things followed that. And it's like, do I see Davy Jones as a bad guy? I almost don't. That's horrible. And I had bad experiences too when I was in high school. And it's like, I understand, that is horrible that you've been betrayed that bad, that it hurt that much, that you carved out your own heart. I mean, so it's like, is he a bad guy? Not really. It's different. There's multiple stories connecting it. So it's like, Will trying to save his father. Jack, his time is short because he made a deal with Davy Jones and he didn't do, he needs to either join Davy Jones or he has to get 100 souls. It's not good versus evil. It's kind of like Jack, you did something and, and other characters are trying to do something, but it's like, Jack, because you did this in your past, because you're almost kind of like a fool, and you don't really plan things out. You kind of are just winging it all the time, and you deal with it when you have to deal with it. Because of that, it causes problems. That's very different than Star Wars, where it's Jedi versus Sith, rebellion versus the Empire, resistance versus the First Order. In the new trilogy, are we still going to do good versus evil? I almost hope we don't. And we've talked about that, where it's like, well, hopefully they have just space adventures. I just want like a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, where it's just like, oh, that was really cool. That was a fun adventure. It was kind of still pretty simple to follow, but it wasn't the same formula where it's like, you're going to be a good guy, you're going to be a bad guy, and you're going to fight for whatever reason. So my question, and you can keep going, Alex, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're 100% right, where it's like, it's an easy thing to follow, and I don't know if that's almost insulting to Star Wars or if it's insulting to the general population, where it's like, are you that stupid that you need like that easy of a film for you to enjoy? I don't know, but you're 100% right.
Yeah, I think it's just easy to, like you said, easy to enjoy. I think it's easy to just sit in the theaters and watch it, and they're fun-ish rides. I mean, 1, 2, and 3, for as many people as would try and defend those are just bad movies. I think if you are like above a teenager age when you watch those, you'll know that. I think those are just playing specifically to little kids, so those kind of get thrown out. But overall, I think Star Wars are just good rides all the way through. Like, you can enjoy them, and you have to sit down, I think, and invest your time in Pirates, and that's why I love Pirates so much. Pirates 3 is a special movie to me because it talks a lot, and it's such a long movie, which ironically The Last Jedi was, but in The Last Jedi we learn nothing except for insults, and in At World's End we learn 2.5 hours worth of how this universe works, and it's the baseline for a lot of the things we've talked about on the channel. Without Pirates 3, we wouldn't have all these discussions because we wouldn't know how the universe operates itself, and that's why Pirates 3 I think is so important. And it's rare that a movie can pull that off, and I know a lot of people didn't like Pirates 3, but I absolutely did. I think it's rare you find a movie that can do all that stuff and explain the universe while also having emotional characters and also having a 30-minute nonstop fight scene, and also flipping a ship over and having all these literal huge time movie moments that no movie had ever done at the time. It was the biggest budget at the time ever in any film. So yeah, you had to watch 2 in order to understand 3. I think 3 is a lot better once you watch 2. If you watch them back to back, I think that's when you get the best shot at 3. And you don't have to do that with Star Wars. I don't think you have to watch Star Wars 7 to like Star Wars, to enjoy Star Wars 8. I don't think 8 has a bonus feel edition if you've watched 7 2 hours before, whereas I think Pirates 3 massively, I think even Pirates 5 could have one if you had just watched Pirates 3, because it's the same kind of characters and same kind of atmosphere. So yeah, I think you have to be in the right mindset to watch Pirates 5. In a way, it's more sophisticated. I don't want to go like insulting Star Wars, and I don't think it does necessarily deserves insult. It has its purpose, but I like the more story-oriented, you've got to pay attention, you've got to be invested for all these Pirates films, and Star Wars just doesn't. I think it's too simple, and it's too easy for just anybody. I think you can talk to literally anybody on the planet and they'll know something about Star Wars.
And before we end again, the last thing I want to say is, if you go, you might have already watched it, I don't know, but if you haven't, go check out why Star Wars The Last Jedi is an FU or an insult to fans. And, whether you watched it or not, it doesn't matter. I want you to read the comment section, and what I want you guys to look for, I mean, unless you've already seen it, but if you haven't, go check it out. And I want you guys to see how many people have been talking about, like, to them, they've eliminated 7 and 8, that's no longer canon, and what's canon is the extended universe, the books, from 15, 20 years ago. And the reason that I'm saying that, this is what's interesting, and Alex has said it a couple times, here's what's interesting. Pirates of the Caribbean established multiple mythologies and multiple different things, their universe, in 2 and in 3. And then they continued it in 4 or 5. With Star Wars, because of that so baseline good versus evil lightsabers means, you're like the top class. Like, you're either, if it's a blue or green lightsaber, you're a Jedi. If it's a red saber, you're a Sith or you're a bad guy. You're a dark side person with the Force. So everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. But, and there is some mythology thrown in there sometimes, kind of. But what's interesting is that there's books that are no longer canon, but there are books that go into more and tell us more mythology-wise and this and that than the actual films do, which is interesting to me. That it's like, well, why isn't that in the films? Why aren't you telling us that? Why do I have to go and read these other books? Again, like, for the people who don't like 7 and 8, and they're like, well, the books that I've read, and I actually read I think I read 2 of them when I was younger. It's like, well, I like that version better because there's more mythology thrown in, there's more lore, where it's like for one of them, I think like Leia isn't Luke's actual twin sister, it's this other person, and like there's like more into it, and it's all this stuff, and it's like, you know, that's a lot of mythology that is missing from the obvious core of the Star Wars franchise, the movies. Again, Knights of the Old Republic, that's a game that had all this lore, and it's like, here's how it used to be a long, long time ago. And it's like, well, that's not in the movies. Why isn't it? Why do I have to go to other sources? And what happens if I didn't play that game, so I don't know any of it. So even if they said, well, that is canon, I don't know any of it, and I'm not going to read. I mean, it would take me like 3 hours to read all that stuff with all the expansions and all that stuff. I don't want to go and read those books. So it's like, why can't you do what Pirates did and just establish the stuff? Just show us. Say it. Show it. So it's like, it's just interesting how, and Alex is right, how Pirates is a more story-oriented film or franchise, which I like. I'm not saying that I'm in love with Pirates of the Caribbean, even though I really love Pirates of the Caribbean. What I'm saying is I like story-driven things. I don't like just like, you know, TV shows that, like House. I loved House, but it's like, how many seasons do you need? And it's like, okay, I get it. There's going to be a patient with a problem. You're going to do it. CSI. Okay, we get it. There's a crime. You're going to figure it out at the end. Either it went well or it didn't. Usually it goes well. I don't like serial type shows. I like when shows like Westworld or Mr. Robot, where it's very story driven. Better Call Saul. And it's like short, like 10 episodes a season. We're straight to the point. I like that. I like that Pirates of the Caribbean is story driven. I want Star Wars, and all of you are going to be like, but Star Wars is story driven. What are you guys, idiots? No, you're not understanding. You're not understanding. Yes, Star Wars is story driven, but it's so baseline. And clearly, like with 8, like where they were going with 7, like Alex and I and the rest of us too, when 7 came out, we were kind of excited, like, oh, there's mystery. There's actually going to be more to Star Wars rather than it's good versus bad. There's going to be more, like we're going to get something. And then 8, and then we don't get that. Now we'll have to see with 9, but I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get. I hope that we get something, but still, it's like, I want more. I want story. I want that. That's what I want from Star Wars. I want you to take the concept. I want you to take the mythology, and I want you to go for it. I want you to do it. So I just want to say that because, you know, it's almost annoying when there's something like, I truly love Star Wars. I truly love Pirates of the Caribbean. I truly, truly, truly want the best for both of these franchises. And you know, it's sad to me that Pirates doesn't do like a little bit better. It's sad to me that is like, well, you know, is there going to be a 6? We still think so, but is there going to be a 6? How many more movies are there going to be? Is there only going to be one more? Is there going to be a few more? Like, I don't like that it's so uncertain because I feel like they still kind of there's more they can do. There's more they can explore. Where Star Wars, I'm starting to get you know what? Maybe you should just stop. And it's sad. Or maybe if you don't stop, maybe you should just do spinoffs. Maybe you should. Maybe we should explore a little bit more outlets. Make them a little bit smaller, compact movies. Story-driven. Like when Kenobi comes out, obviously that's going to be very story-driven. Rogue One, that was like a solo movie. Very like, here it is. Here's what we're going to do. Very driven. Like very pinpoint, but very good. So it's just, you know, I want these movies to do good or well. I want everybody to like be enjoying them. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing from two different views. Like, it's disappointing, you know, Pirates doesn't do as well. I hope that it does. I hope people, you know, stick to it. I hope they show up. I kind of hope that people start to want a little bit more from what they get out of their entertainment. Which I think we kind of are getting there, like with Stranger Things, like, you know, that's sci-fi and people, it's short, but people like are into it. And they're like, oh, this is, you know, it's really good. Like, it's very storied. So hopefully we are kind of getting there. Hopefully everything kind of is the right time for Pirates. where Star Wars, hopefully they look at, you know, how fans, like, I'm not going to say true fans, but how they're real fans from like the past and all that stuff, but how they're fans in general, not the media, not critics, how they're actual fans, how they really truly feel about Star Wars 8, and hopefully they look at the future and say, you know what, maybe we should, you know, not do the same thing. Maybe we shouldn't just do good versus evil. Obviously, always keep good versus evil. Not always, but for the most part, keep good versus evil. But there's other ways to show it. There's other ways to show it. Maybe, you know, maybe we should be more story driven. Maybe we should do more like, you know, either one solo movie, or maybe like Kenobi is like Kenobi 1, Kenobi 2, and then we're done. Maybe we should do that kind of stuff. So I hope that Star Wars kind of takes another look. First of all, they got to get rid of Catherine Kennedy. That's number one. But I hope they take another look at where they're heading. I hope Pirates and Disney, I hope Disney kind of says, you know what, we're going to give you a couple more shots. I truly hope that happens, because I just want the best for both. I really do. And obviously it sounds like we're way more into Pirates than Star Wars. That's just not true. It just isn't true. It's just that, you know, one tends to pull it off a little bit better, maybe because it's smaller. I don't know. And you guys could let us know what you think. But I really do want the best, because these are two of my favorite movie franchises. And, you know, how I feel from 8, it's just not exactly what I was hoping for. 2 years ago, I was not hoping to feel what I feel still. So, you know, it's always this, and same thing though, like Pirates 4, I wasn't hoping to feel that after seeing how amazing Pirates 3 was, and 2 and 3 were together. You know, so it's kind of, but you know, 5, in a way they made it right. So, you know, I just hope Star Wars 9 ends up doing the right thing. I hope the future Star Wars goes well. I hope Pirates goes well. That's about all I want to say. But just so you guys know, you know, we're not just like, well, you guys really hate Star Wars. No, no, we don't.
So let us know what you guys think of this topic, as well as the other 2 topics we covered on the crossover events, in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this crossover of our Pirates of the Caribbean and Star Wars Community Series. We're going to have Pirates of the Caribbean videos coming out still. Next week, we're going to be reviewing Curse of the Black Pearl, and then we're going to be picking it up every other week from there. If Pirates 6 gets announced within the relative future, we'll start picking it up to once a week again. And Star Wars, we'll just cover it as it goes. If there's rumors, if there's filming leaks, if there's anything, we will definitely fill you in. But thank you guys so much. We're going to have many more community series coming in 2018, more crossover events of different franchises we think are going to be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next video.